Kegel exercise benefits for men are gained by pelvic floor strengthening. So how can you maximise your Kegel exercises to get the best possible benefits? Hi, I'm Michelle, and today I'm sharing with you some of my top tips to help you get the most benefit from your Kegel exercises. Now, when we're talking benefits, we're talking about lasting longer, overcoming impotence, and also to overcoming problems like bladder control after prostate surgery. Now, we really need to use the scientific principles into muscle strengthening and apply those to how we train the pelvic floor muscles. So I'm not going to go through how to do your Kegel exercises. You can refer to my video above on the actual technique if you're not sure about that. This is all about getting the best possible gains. So let's dive right in. Now, my first tip is to do your exercises early in the day when your muscles are well rested. So I think if you think about the pelvic floor muscles, and we know, and you'll already know if you've seen my previous videos, that they're between the sit bones here, tailbone and front bone, and they sling under there at the base of the pelvis, which is why they're called the pelvic floor muscles. Now, during the course of the day, they're constantly under load. So if you go to do your training at the end of the day, these guys have been working all day and they're fatigued. So think about when the muscles are best rested, probably when you first wake up, and towards the morning, particularly if you're in a manual labour job, if a job that or work that actually involves standing all day. It might be different if you're in a sedentary job where you're sitting and you can actually do your exercises during the course of the day. But that first tip about doing your exercises when the muscles are well rested is really important for maximising the muscle hypertrophy, the thickening, and your training gains. Now, the second tip is a little bit along those lines. It's called doing your exercises in standing. So the research clearly shows that when you do all your Kegel exercises lying down, you don't make the most strength gains, you don't make as good a strength gains as you do when you do the exercises in upright positions like sitting and standing, because the muscles then have to lift against gravity. So you've got that added load, and we're talking about loading to actually strengthen those muscles. So I think if you look at the muscles here and you see them in that context there, that's where they are. So you want to do some exercises, maybe lying down, maybe your first set in the morning when you first wake up, but make sure you try and get a set in standing. Now, if you're a beginner, this is something you might need to work towards. Just take your time. It will come with practice. You might work from lying down, sitting and standing. But those standing exercises are really very important. Now, my next tip is one of the most important tips. I think if you're used to strength training in the gym, you'll know that you have to lift with... So if you're used to strength training in the gym, you'll know that you need to use maximum power for muscle bulking. And the same principles apply for your pelvic floor strengthening. Now, this means you need to load maximally. Now, we can't, and I've got some weights here, we can't actually load the pelvic floor muscles with our Kegel exercises with weights. That's difficult. So what you need to then do is think about using maximum power. So if you're lifting so for an analogy is a bicep curl, a lighter weight, you can see that I'm not using as much muscle intensity and much contractile strength as if I try to attempt a bicep curl with this big weight. So the same thing applies for your Kegel strengthening. You need to use that maximal effort with each exercise that you do. Now, following on from that, you can't do maximal effort after maximal effort just as you wouldn't be able to in the gym. You need to rest between exercises. Now, the amount of rest that you take is really up to you. If you're a beginner, you'll need more rest between each exercise. But as you become more proficient with your exercises, you might find that you don't need quite as much rest. But make sure you do those two things. Contract, do your Kegel exercises with maximal intensity, and then take the time to rest and recover before your next exercise so that every exercise really counts. Now, finally, I want to talk about the way you strengthen. So if you think about, again, muscle strengthening, and then this is the principle of muscle strengthening. When you lift, you strengthen, but you actually make most of your strength gains as you lower the weight down. So in the gym, you might do a 1 to 2 second lift, and then you lower down eccentrically 2 to 4 seconds. So the muscle is still contracting, but it's lengthening. And that is a secret to making strength gains. So try to use the same principles with your pelvic floor exercises or with your Kegel exercises. Lift and maintain that lift for your endurance. But then if you can, lower the muscles down slowly rather than just letting it go, because you're missing a really great strength gain opportunity by just letting them go. Once again, when you first start out, you might find it really hard to let the muscles go. They might have just, the contraction might have gone already. That's fine. This will take time to get a hang of. So just practicing lifting and then lowering down slowly. Now, the very final tip, again, is a scientific principle from the American College of Sports Medicine, and that involves doing your strength exercises at least 3 times a week. So for muscle hypertrophy, muscle thickening, same thing for the pelvic floor muscles, they're skeletal muscles, they need that 3 times a week stimulus to really strengthening. You might then maintain your gains by twice a week, but when you're strengthening, try to do your exercises on at least 3 days of the week. And I often suggest for men to try and do their exercises on 5 days a week too. So I think you can see that you really need to train like an athlete and use scientific principles and apply them to your Kegel exercises to get the most maximal possible benefits. So I really hope this information helps you get the most benefits from your pelvic floor exercises. If the video has helped you, I'd really appreciate it if you can give it a like below, because then YouTube will share the video and the information with other men too. Thanks so much for watching today. Look forward to seeing you next time. Goodbye for now.